Now I visited with Mr. Nichols and Mr. McClendon at this year's OSU Energy Conference, which is where Oklahoma State University President Burns Hargis sat down with both gentlemen to talk about the state's energy future.
What role in the future does domestic oil have? I mean, have we pretty well exhausted the reserves?
No. You know, one of the fascinating things about our industry, both for oil and natural gas, is that new technology, new drilling technology, new geologic ideas are always coming to the forefront and discovering new things. And you can look in the Gulf of Mexico, you can look around the country in areas where you would think all the exploration had been done. As I said, the biggest natural gas field in the United States is now the Barnett Shale field. It's in the middle of Texas. It surrounds most of Fort Worth. You'd think all the drilling would have been done in Texas that's ever been done. On the oil side, there are oil reserves in Canada that far exceed the oil reserves in Saudi Arabia. It's the heavy oil. Devon got up there a decade or so ago, started acquiring leases and doing the science, knowing that sooner or later the technology would get there, sooner or later the prices would get right. And we have a major project now. We just finished one. It was $1 billion. It's called steam-assisted gravity drainage, where you drill one horizontal well into the oil formation and inject steam, which heats up the oil, and you then inject a second horizontal well down at the bottom of the reservoir, and as you inject the steam, it heats the oil up, the oil flows down to the bottom horizontal well, and you produce the oil. It's pretty simple once you get the technology right.
What kind of pricing do you need to make that economic?
It's very economic at today's prices. You know,
again, it's a benefit of horizontal drilling.
It's a benefit of horizontal drilling, a new technology. 15, 20 years ago, we did not know how to do that. But we're producing about 35,000 barrels a day from this first formation. We will take that up. We have the resources that are stacked up there to get well over 100,000 barrels a day. Today, half of our production, half our revenue comes from oil. Devon's always been balanced between oil and gas. And so new technology out in West Texas, new technology is continuing to open places in the United States where we can use new technology and develop oil reserves.
What about from Chesapeake's perspective?
I certainly share Larry's enthusiasm. I would not have, I've always been enthusiastic about the value of oil. I just didn't know how to go find it. And it was a reminder of why oil's more expensive than gas. Gas has always been easier to find. But I think what the industry is realizing as we have completely transformed the natural gas industry in the U.S., we're going to take those transformative lessons and move them now to the oil side. And so we were focused on bad rock when we were looking for gas. Now we'll just focus on bad rock that we think has oil in it. And this is going to be beneficial to Oklahoma. There are already several big plays in western Oklahoma that are focused on formations that heretofore were not really widely perspective. And I think it can be transformative for Oklahoma, what's going to happen in western Oklahoma, and as Larry said, West Texas, New Mexico, other places.
You always use a 1 to 6 BTU ratio with these two energy sources, but the prices don't reflect that. The natural gas prices are reflecting about a $24 oil price instead of 80 some odd that it is now. Why is that?
Well, I think it's simply supply and demand. We have proven that you can find a lot of gas in this country. We proved it, unfortunately, right when the country was entering into the most serious economic setback we've had in 50 years. So you had production, or demand rather, decline during the recession while Larry and our company and other companies were reinventing the gas business, and it's led to an oversupply of natural gas. And I probably shouldn't say oversupply of natural gas. We have a undersupply of demand rather than an oversupply of natural gas. So I think, though, that there's so much money to be made between arbitraging the difference between $24 oil and the equivalent of gas, which is cleaner than oil and made in America, creates American jobs. You don't have to fight wars over it. And $84 oil, that we're going to find ways to increase demand for that product in our country. And as Larry mentioned, I mentioned, it's going to be in the form of vehicles. It's going to be in the form of changing the way we make power in this country. So there's just you know, this is the most valuable industry, most highly valued industry in the world. With that big of a gap between two different fuels that can do many of the same things, you're going to find a way to bridge that gap, and I think it will happen in terms of big increases in demand for natural gas. One last thing here, remember, the demand for natural gas in the U.S. is about 60 BCF a day. We consume about 70 BCF a day equivalent of gas in the form of gasoline and diesel, and then we burn about 60 BCF a day equivalent of coal to make electricity. So if you think about that, there's two huge markets out there for natural gas to chase in terms of power and transportation.
Because you can transport oil relatively easily in comparison to natural gas, oil is priced on a worldwide basis. And on a worldwide basis, the economies are doing well, particularly in China and India, but also in strange places like the Middle East, which we all view as a producer. But over time, particularly in Saudi Arabia, they have been building up their own industry, building up refineries, building up things that consume oil. And if you look at the consumption of oil in the Middle East, it is actually going up at a rather remarkable rate. So if you look at oil consumption worldwide, particularly China, India, Middle East, some of those countries, it's doing quite well. And because that oil is now priced $80, $85 a barrel at a very good price. Natural gas, on the other hand, is entirely a North American market. And therefore, it's based entirely on supply and demand inside North America. And the recession we have in the United States is not rebounding as fast as it is in other parts of the world, and so natural gas is priced awfully cheap.
Okay, well, let me just give you a last word. You guys, I'm just going to toss it to you, and you've got your last word, and I know we'll love to hear it.
That's not a question. What a tough, penetrating question.
I'll tell you what,
I'm out of penetrators.
No, look, let's say this. Let's stipulate that this is an incredibly exciting time to be an Oklahoman and to be Oklahoma Cityan and to be involved with OSU.
Okay. Now I've got my question.
Okay. I had my closing word and you took it from me.
What will natural gas prices be by the end of 2010 and the end of 2011?
I of course know that, but I'd have to kill you if I told you.
They'll likely be different than today. I think, look, I want all gas consumers to be aware that I do think we're in a different price environment, and a price environment of probably $5 to $6 is something that you'll see we can make money at that price, and consumers can really receive great value at that price.
The fact that we don't know the answer to that is because we both hedge like crazy, because we don't know the answer to that, where gas prices are.
How do you like that $6 number?
No, for my closing comment, I'd like to say that for all of the students in the room, this really is an exciting time. It is a great industry to enter. It is one that, of course, is buffeted by public opinion right now, but that comes and goes. But when you look at what technology has done historically and continues to do, just when you think all the oil and natural gas in this country has been developed, lo and behold, new technology, new ideas come along, and we continue to develop our resources. You may recall a long time ago, President Carter announced, after governmental studies, that we discovered all the natural gas in the country and we were in an irreversible decline. Totally, demonstrably wrong. New technology, new people entering the industry are going to keep us going for a long time, and a lot of them are there in this room, so I wish you all well.
So it's a good future in the industry.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'd like to say that Oklahoma City was very fortunate that these two people decided to do their business here, and we benefited mightily, as has OSU. And I want to thank both of you for the support Devon and Chesapeake has provided to OSU. There's considerable support, both in a number of ways, and I won't take time to enumerate them. But they've been very important to our university and to our schools of geology and engineering, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you, gentlemen.